right. Welcome to another episode of Click Happens. My name is Doug Kreitzberg. I'm founder CEO of SeedPod Cyber, and really happy to have with us today Akangkshya Pathak. Akangkshya works with us on our AI tools that we've been developing. Akangkshya is a graduate of Northwestern. She's an expert in AI, and so we're all going to learn how to spell AI today. That's a guarantee.
It's A and I.
Right, right. So now that we got that out of the way, Akansha, nice to have you on board.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. This is great. I have been a big fan of this podcast and I was waiting for the day when I finally got an invite. So today is a special day for me.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sure it won't be the last as well, because
Yeah.
AI is just a changing field. But let's jump right into it. So the there's a lot of things that we could talk about AI, but we want to keep it within the context of cybersecurity and insurance. So
Mhm.
let's talk about the cybersecurity. What has AI done to the cybersecurity landscape over the past, I don't know, 18 months, 24 months? It hasn't been that long.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a total drastic shift in the cybersecurity space with like on both sides with how threats are and also the remediation for those threats. Previously, we used to have a simple virus, a bug that you'd get in your system and you'd get it out. Now, using AI, the bugs are constantly adapting to your system. The moment you try to kill that bug, it adapts to the new settings that you've implemented so that it kind of learns the system essentially. If they're trying to attack you, they will learn your pattern, your behavior, and they will keep on going and going. So it's become more persistent per se. But so have the solutions. Big cybersecurity networks that create those solutions are also using the same AI just as well. Just as the bugs are getting smarter, the solutions are also just getting as smarter and adapting to the changing bugs. So I'd say that this is like an old video game where both the sides got an upgrade. It's a massive scale now, but they're still fighting.
Right.
I've also seen that there's a lot of phishing going on. It's so easy to create, especially with the generative AI content in images and video. I mean, video has not still gotten to that level where it looks very authentic, but images, it's very hard to tell apart images. Now, for
Right.
a regular person who is not in the AI world or does not use technology every day of their life, if you show them a picture that looks convincing enough, it's very easy to get something out of them. Phishing, it's so convenient. You just drop a prompt in ChatGPT or in any of the other image generation tools that looks very convincing, and you can also get the a very convincing set of text to go along with it, and this will redirect them to a link that is going to drain all their life savings. So
Right.
all these things have become so easy. I mean, you and I being so constantly exposed to it, being on LinkedIn all day, we can very easily recognize that okay, this is human and this is AI generated.
Right.
But for the billions of people that are on this planet, not all of them are constantly in this area. So it's very hard for them and they can easily fall prey to the cybersecurity risks.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's very you bring up a lot of great points here, and I like the metaphor of the bug or the virus changing and adapting to the environment here. I mean, I like it, but it's scary, right? And at the same time, if you're trying to fight the bugs, that can adapt and to what the bugs might mutate to. Hopefully, at the same speed, but you don't know. It depends on who's got the money and how much money can be thrown at it on
Mhm.
either side. And I know that the phishing definitely has gotten a lot more. It's changed dramatically over the past 24 months. A lot more personalized. They, and because you can have it really, it can scrape my LinkedIn profile. It can see what prompts or what topics. It can then use that against me in a message as well. And it's really becoming tough to separate, what's real versus what's generated, right?
Mhm.
Not only in cybersecurity, but in a lot of things. And at the same time, we have, it's us people trying to figure out what we do. And as you said, a lot of people just aren't that sophisticated
Mhm.
for kind of that, a business person that might be listening to us right now. What are some things that they should be thinking about with regards to, just to pay attention or to be aware of now that AI is part of the cybersecurity landscape?
So there's a lot of things that one can do. The good thing about being in this age is, even though the threats have gotten much worse, it's very democratized at this point, AI access. And if you don't need to be very technically competent, or you don't need to be like a PhD research scientist to know that, okay, there is something that can be done to solve it. You can do so many basic steps in your day-to-day like life operating a business that can make you safer, or just general practice of your personal experience too, so that you can escape things like phishing. I think one of the best things you can do is, just first thing I would say is know what is out there, like be aware of how the world is moving. If the world has in this area has changed so much so rapidly, that you have to at least try to keep up with what is happening in general. You should know that there is a thing called ChatGPT. You should know that fake images are being created. So some of it is being aware of what is going on. The other things are knowing what steps you can do as a possible consumer, where most of us are just consumers of AI generated content, how we can differentiate if it's real or not. There's always subtle clues. AI hasn't gotten to that point where we cannot figure out what's real and fake. Like in images, or especially like phishing and those marketing things, we should always like look for some of the minute details. If the image or if the picture looks almost too good, you should know that it is probably not a picture. It is definitely AI generated. There are some tells, you know, uncanny valley, as they say it. It looks real, but still quite not real. If you look good well
Right.
enough, you will be able to tell. Same goes for like text descriptions, or like especially like phishing emails. Because of things like ChatGPT and Claude, you can write up a really good phishing email, and you could write it up in a way that'd be hard for anyone to differentiate where things are leading to. So I would say when you get an email, be very careful, or marketing stuff, read it. Even if it looks very polished now, previously you could see that it's a very like rough draft version of an email that would give it away. But now that the text is very clear and concise, it's harder to tell just based on text. But before clicking any link or going to any domain, I would say you have to be very cautious. And it helps to like research, okay, what does this lead to? Just don't click on stuff. And now it's even more important because now they have the people who are phishing, they have like better tactics to hide or mask all those like links or the tells that could tell you that, okay, this is something wrong. But there's the good thing is that there's so many tools in the market, and even with bigger companies, cybersecurity companies coming out, but with them, or even like small startups in that space, where if you do like routine, if you use those tools as just like a routine check, maybe once a week or once a day, if your system is really critical, you can just make ensure that you can just click a button and it will do the whole thing for you, like AI agents.
Right.
That's the good thing about AI, that it can even something that would take you maybe a couple hours a day just to go through the routine checks of security. Now you can just click a button. There's tools like that. You just click a button. Or you don't even have to click a button. You just download an agent. You just configure the settings so that it runs at a set time every day, and
Right.
it'll run and it'll give you any anomalies detected or block it automatically. So it's just so convenient. We just have to keep ourselves aware of these tools and make sure that we use it. I'd say it's gotten easier to a point because there's so many tools available to us, but it's also something that we have to look at. Okay, does this make sense for me? Is this app for my use case? So there's some
Right.
due diligence you should do.
Right. Right. But isn't it? I mean, the the AI is certainly changing the landscape in virtually every area, or will be changing it.
Mhm,
We're also at this point, I think, in AI development where the um, uh, the sizzle is ahead of the steak. In other words, the promise of what AI can deliver isn't exactly what's being delivered today.
mhm,
So companies that may have started to invest a lot aren't getting the output that they were hoping. No, that's not every company, obviously. Coding, apparently in the coding space, that it seems to be having a big impact. But a number of companies are going through what they call that trial of despair, where you get an innovation and there's excitement and that builds up a lot of, but then the payoff doesn't quite happen, and you go in this trial of despair, and then it starts building up to something more realistic
mhm,
here. How do we, from your standpoint, you've all heard about AI hallucinating, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
how do we make sure that we're managing AI in the way where it's doing, good stuff for us, but we still can make sure that it's actually doing what we think it's doing and it's
mhm.
not going off the rails?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that's where this next topic comes in. Like, there's a very big topic of research that is gaining traction, which is AI safety and AI frameworks. So, as you mentioned, that AI looks like this promise of like this promised land that's gonna give us like make us a lot of money and give us a lot, lead us to the best place that we've ever been. But companies invest a lot in AI, as one does when a new technology shows up. Previously, it's happened with blockchain. Some people did that with
Right.
Bitcoin and NFTs, but and then they invested a lot, and then it didn't really pick up. I think what AI is doing differently. There was always a hype, but I think AI adoption is still happening. It just might be that people have AI is constantly growing. It's a technology that everyone is doing research on at this moment. A lot of people in every field. So we're still not at that point where it's like a magic wand where you can just cast a spell and the whole world transforms. I think that's where a lot of people the disconnect is. AI is still at that point here at this point in time. AI is still something which can make your life way easier than the baseline of it was before it all came along. But we still have to think about, okay, what does it make sense realistically for your use case? If you're trying to build something with it, what are the parameters? What looks possible? What makes no sense? Or how would you trust some like an AI system? You At the end of the day, AI is just lines of binaries. It's just zeros and ones at this point. We should always remember that. And I think before executing any task with AI, as people who have knowledge in the respective fields that we're in, we should plan everything out, scope it out, look at the positives, the negatives, and make sure that we know what the expectations are and that they're realistic. That is a good point
Right.
that would help us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from the, and speaking of an area in which we know, which is insurance,
Mhm.
what are the near-term opportunities that you see for AI in terms of helping within the insurance channel?
Um, I think insurance is one of those spaces where there's a lot of, especially the processing. There's a lot of minute steps that have to be performed well to get to the final decision. You have to look at the policy, you have to look at the terms, and it's a lot of small steps, and it's very ordered, is what I've seen. So, which means that AI can definitely help. AI performs really well on structured things. If you can give the AI tasks on exactly what to do, then the hallucination bit is addressed. Like we previously mentioned, we know that AI hallucinates, but if we tell the AI that 1 plus 1 is 2, and this is how it works, we're adding, if we explain the logic, if there's logic, it will understand. And so AI can be a great opportunity in this field. One of the ways that I think the best use cases of AI's capabilities at this point is through reading and processing documents, insurance documents, like policies, like terms. Most of those documents, their language, it's mostly textual language, but they're very official, and we have to make sure that we understand exactly what every keyword means. And AI at this point is really good at understanding text, because the AI that we know is LLM, which is large language model. They are basically designed to understand the context behind text and just process it. There's one concept in large language models, tools that you build with LLMs, which is called RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. What that essentially, that is something that can be very useful, and there's a lot of use cases for that. What that essentially does is it can look at big amounts of text and process it in a way that it understands the meaning of everything, but also can give you analysis based on it. And it makes it essentially shortens the process of going through maybe 100 pages of text into 5 minutes, while also understanding all the words in there so that we do not hallucinate. One of
Right.
the first problems with AI that I saw when ChatGPT first came out in 2023 was you could put AI had a limitation. It's still there. You cannot put infinite amount of text in there, but the retrieval augmented generation solves that issue. So because a lot of insurance, the process is a lot of just analyzing texts and policies. We know that understanding the capability to understand different types of like policies or terms is a very important skill in there. And I believe that at this point in time, because we are, most of it is being done manually, we are spending a lot of human hours that could help some get some aid using AI tools. In
Right.
our use case, we have something like that, which helps, which
Right.
essentially shortens the insurance assessment, something that would take you a couple of days for a very expert insurance underwriter or policy maker to go through, into something that only takes you about 10 minutes. And
Right.
that is, it's not supposed to be the thing that makes the human useless in the process. It's just supposed to be an additional help. Imagine if you could do, instead of one report taking 2 days, if one report took you 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so, your productivity as a human would be, it would go to superhuman levels. So it could.
Well, also just certainly with insurance, many people don't understand insurance, right?
Mhm.
So they don't read the quote unquote fine print for the most part, and they just assume that they're covered.
Mhm.
And so in something like cyber insurance, which involves something in which they also don't understand cyber, they understand fire, right? They
Mhm.
understand if their house catches on fire, what that could look like, and they don't really understand what happens when somebody gets into their systems,
Mhm.
right? And how that even happens. So they're dealing with a risk they don't understand, and then they're dealing with a contract, legal contract that they don't understand. What you're saying is that AI can really help a
Yes.
business really understand the risk that they have, they can understand how that insurance is set up to address the risks, and maybe there's some gaps there that they
Hmm.
hadn't thought about.
Yes.
That they would put them in a better position to really talk to their broker
Mm.
or talk to their
Yeah.
IT provider
Yeah.
as well,
It's
right?
essentially a tool that can educate you better on things that you might already have. Like you mentioned, Doug, that insurance tends to be very jargon heavy, technical terms. And unless you're from that super niche field, you probably would be confused. And it's better to understand something rather than sign it without knowing anything, because this might lead to issues down the line. So an
Exactly.
AI tool can simplify it based on, if you're a medical professional, it'll explain things to you in terms that you would understand. So that's the thing about AI. It can relate anything with anything. So it helps you understand exactly what the jargons mean. And because it can process so much text, it can summarize all these jargons in case things may be too broad. You wouldn't, and they could be summarized into like an easier way that helps too. And it makes you aware of what's actually going in your system. I think what I would describe it as, it's giving more power to the people.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
That's a great. I think that's a great place for us to end. This has been a fascinating conversation. At least there's still people that can get more power. I mean, the AI hasn't destroyed us all with their death rays
Not yet.
here. But I think we'll be having a lot more conversations with Kanksha about this as time goes on.
Mhm.
I think it is changing our it's a seminal event, very exciting, and with excitement comes a little bit of nervousness as well here. So, but thank you so much. Really appreciated this, and take care.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye bye.